Static. The title of a duke, prince, and viceroy afforded the little girl both social status and wealth. But unfortunately, all the riches in the world couldn't shield her from her own father's carnal appetite. Reportedly, Anna's father enjoyed the company of several women at a time, despite his wife and countess back home. But perhaps that explains where Anna's fighting spirit came from. Her childhood wasn't perfect. Anna witnessed her father's countless romances and the tears of betrayal they caused her mother. Her parents' problems influenced Anna's personality quite a lot. She was already described as intelligent, passionate, and rebellious in her youth. Anna was a religious person, too, later in life, but she practiced this in her own way as well. While there's not much information available on Anna's childhood, the information that is available shares a common thread. No reports remember her being well-behaved. Instead, they call her a bright child with a very strong will, which probably explains a supposed incident that became a defining part of her forever. Right around her preteen years, Anna de Mendoza started showing up in her portraits with an unusual accessory, a black eye patch. From that point on, she always wore the eye patch in her portraits, setting her apart from just about any other young noblewoman of the day. But she didn't do it just for fun. According to speculation, it came from a rather gruesome encounter. According to several accounts, Anna got into a bit of trouble while fencing, possibly with a servant. Supposedly, her opponent mistakenly damaged her eye, causing her to cover it up for aesthetic reasons. There's no real evidence to support this theory, however, but that's just the beginning of the great eye patch mystery. Per a very different theory, Anna damaged her eye all on her own. By that version of events, she ended up wearing the eye patch as a result of a very bad fall off one of her horses. Possible, but there's no evidence for that theory either, and eventually, her eye patch raised enough curiosity to warrant major action. In 2012, doctors launched an investigation to determine the reason for the eye patch by studying her portraits. They did a thorough study and eventually came up with another theory. According to the doctors, Anna's issues were likely presented as more cosmetic than anything else. They said that while she probably didn't have any actual eye issues, she likely experienced some trauma that made her eye look less appealing. Even so, they couldn't really prove their theories. Of course, there was one more potential reason. Some theories suggest Anna could have been born with a condition, amblyopia, or, in other terms, lazy eye. That wouldn't have been a good look in her high society at that time. However, none of these theories seemed quite right, so doctors continued to investigate the portraits where Anna started wearing the eye patch at age 14. According to doctors' results, Anna's right brow ridge is smaller and lower than her left one. This likely suggests she experienced trauma, which caused problems with her eyeball and facial bones. Moreover, according to the doctors, it seems that Anna did not suffer from any chronic inflammation or infection, so trauma is more probable. While it remains impossible to conclude what caused her eye problem, most doctors agree that a fencing incident took place that caused Anna to lose her eye, which would explain her covering it up with an eye patch. Superficial, but all things considered, she had bigger problems to worry about. Back in the 16th century, the daughters of noblemen often served as an asset to their families, not in the way men did. Rather, noblemen often used their daughters to improve their social standings through marriage, an event that altered the course of young Anna's life forever. Anna de Mendoza's family maintained a close relationship with the King of Spain at the time, King Philip II. As such, they took his recommendations for their family very seriously. The king recommended his personal secretary, a nobleman from Portugal named Rui Gomes de Silva. But Anna's new husband was over 2 decades older than her. Lucky for her, her parents issued one major condition. Although Anna went through with marriage at 13, Her parents and their new son-in-law made an agreement. Anna remained at home for 2 more years before actually living with her husband. But when she did join her husband at court, she made a surprising impression. Now married to the king's secretary, Anna became a steady fixture in the king's court. Historians described her as being enigmatic, as she was attractive, despite the ever-present black eye patch. She almost seemingly excelled in high society, and charmed all those she encountered, including one on the highest of the totem pole. Reportedly, Anna de Mendoza found herself becoming very close with both the king and his third wife, Queen Elizabeth of Valois. During her time in court, perhaps the two ladies found a lot in common, considering Elizabeth married the king at 14 years old. But even so, some reports infer that Anna actually got a little too close to the king instead. According to some reports, Anna began an illicit affair with the king during this time. While these reports aren't completely confirmed, there is a chance that they're true. The king had all the power and access he needed to get away with something like that. And we know he didn't have any issues with keeping younger women. While enjoying her life of luxury and high access at court, Anna managed to birth 10 children. She had her first at 18 years old, already 5 years into her marriage, and her last in her 30s. Some theories speculate that at least one of the 10 children actually belonged to King Philip II, an unexpected outcome of her affair. But as his wife frolicked at the court, Rui Gomes da Silva spent his time building wealth for his family. In addition to his work for the king, he found an excellent way to climb the ladder as his family was quickly growing. The king looked favorably on da Silva and his work. He made da Silva a duke in 1572. This not only made Anna a duchess, but it made her the princess of a town in Naples. This likely gave her a nice ego boost in time too, because her life suddenly took a turn for the absolute worst. Just a year after receiving his new title as a duke, Anna de Mendoza's husband passed. There's not much detail about how he passed, but it seems like it suddenly came up out of nowhere, and she plunged into the depths of grief, so much so that she couldn't continue to live her life the way she did before. With her husband gone, Anna retreated to a convent. Her mother went with her, and they lived as nuns there for several years. Traditionally, life at a convent requires its participants to give up a life connected to worldly possessions. But considering Anna's life before that point, I'm sure you can see all the ways this did not work for her. She made numerous demands during her time there, and the other sisters took to calling her Princess Nun. After a few years, Anna decided she preferred to return to the life at court. But bad news arrived from the kingdom. King Philip did not want her to come back. His reasons aren't explicit, but unfortunately for him, he wouldn't be able to get rid of his ex-mistress that easily. It was right around this time that Anna's mother passed. We can only imagine her grief, considering her mother remained close to her through her time at the convent. But before she managed to grieve her mother properly, another loss dealt her with even more of a setback. After her mother passed, Anna's father passed as well. He had left with his mistress several years ago, but once he actually passed, he left a mess behind him. He'd actually married the other woman, and even worse, left her pregnant. This put Anna's inheritance in grave danger. Anna de Mendoza built relationships with some very influential people. This included a correspondence with Teresa of Avila, a religious icon well known for her more taboo, mystical beliefs, even more than making new friends. Anna tried to establish herself as someone with strong opinions, no matter how people reacted. Not only did Anna return to court, despite the king's displeasure with her, but she also started sharing her opinions with anyone who would listen. The details of her new opinions aren't clear, but she commonly shared her updated views on politics and religion. Anna knew how to rock the boat, and she continued to do so, even behind closed doors. Upon her return to court, Anna allegedly began another relationship with the king's new secretary, Antonio Perez. Historians seem to differ on the exact nature of this relationship, but some say all they had in common was political beliefs, but others alluded to a romantic relationship between the two. And honestly, that seems more likely considering one not so little detail. Anna and Antonio went to great lengths to keep their relationship a secret from the king. This likely took careful planning considering Antonio's official role at court, and the way Anna reportedly forced herself back into the company of royalty. But her luck at court finally ran out when she took things with her new man much too far. The real issue started when Antonio got involved with the king's half-brother, Don Juan, who wanted to revolt against his brother's rule. Antonio offered to discuss with them both to serve the king and end the revolt. However, he actually became more of a double agent, using the opportunity to sell secrets to both sides. And how did Anna get involved, you ask? Due to her relationship with Antonio, Anna seemed to know all of the details of his betrayal. Now, whether this came from Anna's new political ideas or not, historians aren't so sure. But what is certain is that Anna certainly took advantage of what she could get out of this situation. Throughout Antonio's betrayal, he continued to visit Anna regularly. Even more than that, he brought her elaborate and extravagant gifts, quite possibly using them to keep her quiet. Or perhaps Anna harbored even more lucrative hopes for the secrets she was keeping. According to some reports, Anna actually wanted to use Antonio's connection to secure another connection for her daughter. By that theory, she wanted to marry off one of her daughters to one of the king's rivals, possibly securing more wealth for herself. But Antonio and Anna's plans turned out to be not quite as airtight as they thought. While Antonio and Anna carried on with their lies and deceit, someone else started to get their own piece of the pie. Antonio worked with one of Don Juan's secretaries, Juan de Escobedo, to help him pull off his scheme. But after a while, Escobedo discovered something that gave him the upper hand. Escobedo discovered the truth about the secret relationship between Antonio and Anna, and the lengths they went to in order to keep it from the king. And with that, Escobedo threatened to pull the lid off the entire plot. Of course, Antonio and Anna couldn't let that happen. Allegedly, Antonio decided to take Escobedo out completely, ending his life to keep his own deceit under wraps. And while some reports allege Anna didn't know about any of those plans, it's hard to believe Antonio decided to suddenly start keeping secrets from her this late in the game. Following his initial arrest in 1579, Antonio managed to use the information he gathered to prolong his own sentencing. He held out by insisting he still had helpful information for the king to use, especially about Don Juan, who wanted Philip's downfall. However, the king still kept a close eye on him. The moment his arrest was made, Antonio's deceit would come back to haunt him years later. In 1587, he had to face the music. This time, an official accusation came his way that he was indeed guilty of murdering Escobedo. Somehow, he eventually managed to slither out of the sticky situation in the 1590s, escaping to another city and living out the rest of his days in exile. Ana de Mendoza, however, faced a far worse fate. The king dealt with Anna much more harshly than he did with all the rest. For one thing, in 1582, he obliterated all her pathways to gaining or retaining her wealth. He took away her rights to gain wealth through her children, as well as took back any property she received after her late husband's passing. But that wasn't all. The king had decided to lock Anna away. At first, he couldn't seem to decide where he should send her. He sent her to the Tower of Pinto first, where she lived with other offenders. Before long, he sent her to another fortress in Madrid, before he figured out where to leave her. For good. And he didn't just shut Anna away in the palace. He only confined her to 2 connected rooms. And eventually, to make it worse, he eventually commanded her windows to be boarded up, so she could experience the heights of isolation. But why was it all so personal, you may ask? Well, according to some reports, the king took Anna's betrayal much more personally because of her previous love affair. Supposedly, he was burning with jealousy at the thought of Anna being with Antonio and punished her accordingly. Whether or not that's actually the case, she never seemed sorry for anything she did. While she supposedly remained a pain to the king's side until the very end, she remained locked away in the palace for over a decade. As the years went by, she eventually became sick, and even worse than that fell into deep depression, until her life ended in 1592. But that wasn't the end for Anna de Mendoza. Decades after her passing, Anna came back in the form of a fictional character inspired by her life. Her character rose in both the play and the novel That Lady by Kate O'Brien. Understandably, these versions of Anna leaned a lot into legend and theories. And as such, her story didn't end on page or stage either. O'Brien's novel inspired a film adaptation in the 1950s that officially brought Anna de Mendoza's story to the screens. Decades later, her stories came back again in other films and television episodes. So while Anna thought her life ended far from how she had hoped, her life remains the subject of intrigue today, which all things considered, she would have been proud of. Some historians still assert that Anna was not an active participant in all of the plots, but was merely complicit, aiming to help her husband. Her intriguing life, though, continues to fascinate many people today because, in history, she is not merely just a beautiful woman. Her eye patch and her character show she wasn't afraid to live her life outside society's expectations at the time. Regardless of which theory you choose to believe about her eye patch, whether an injury, a lazy eye, or a superficial means to separate her rebellious nature from the rest, we cannot deny it was impressive to see her dominate the royal courts with it, and distinguish herself in portraits left behind that document her legacy. No matter the cost, she always went for what she wanted, a lesson I'm sure would inspire many of us today. Music? Thanks for watching History Exposé. If you love uncovering the best stories in history, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring with us. Don't forget to visit our main page, Factinate, for more incredible facts about everything.